Hey everybody, welcome to the Basically Sci-Fi podcast, the story writing show where I and my friend write stories about what you
It's
can
my
basically
friend and
call...
I, actually.
Oh, thank you. Just goes to show my sentence structure ability. All right, let me try that one more time then. I wasn't sure where I was going with that.
I was gonna say leave it in, but okay.
All right, one more time.
Why can't I have the opportunity to mock your English abilities when didn't you major in English?
I didn't. I majored in being good at talking. Good. We've been over this before on the show. I'm a professional word knower.
That's right. I forgot about that.
All right. Well, we may leave this in. Hey, everybody! Welcome to Basically Sci-Fi, the story writing show where we write stories of what you can basically call sci-fi. My name's Todd.
And I'm Jared.
Hey, Jared. How's it going?
Oh, not too bad.
Not too bad.
Just getting over a cold, so I apologize if I'm sniffling and coughing throughout this episode. But it's been going on for about 2.5 weeks now, so I figured we should probably just record anyways, because fuck it.
Oh, man. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Me too.
I am too.
I was sick a couple weeks ago. I lost my voice completely.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. I wasn't able to go to work.
Yeah, no, it's just a particularly bad strain of the common cold going around Maine right now, so I don't know. All my coworkers have had it, and I've had it, and we're all just miserable with each other for a few weeks.
The new Michael Crichton book, A Particularly Bad Strain of the Common Cold.
Yeah.
Brought to you by the corpse of Michael Crichton.
Turns you into dinosaurs.
Is that the only book by Michael Crichton you've read?
I don't think I've even read that. I've never read a Michael Crichton book. My dad has a few of them, and I considered reading them in high school, but I like the Jurassic Park movie, and when I like a movie and there's a book it's based on, I tend not to read the book, just because I figure it'll make me a snobby asshole about it.
I was going to say we're about to lose listeners from, like, oh my god, he thinks the movie is better than the book, but now you're calling them snobby assholes for accusing you of that.
Oh no, I'm calling myself a snobby asshole because I tend to prefer books to film adaptations, like Game of Thrones. I really like some of the Game of Thrones books. Yeah, Song of Ice and Fire.
That's okay.
I really like the first 3 books.
Yeah.
It goes downhill a little, but it just seems like George R.R. Martin's heart isn't really in the writing anymore.
You know, I felt the same way.
He's still goddamn good at describing a meal. I swear, there are whole chapters in those books that are just describing the food at a banquet, and then someone gets their face cut off into a pie.
When I read those books, I just want, like, a big slab of meat.
Yeah.
On a bone.
It's just like, oh, I would like a roast quail stuffed with kumquats and small lizards.
Dude.
That sounds really good.
Let's go get some of that later.
Yes, I'll be right over.
So, yeah. Quick recap. I live in Japan.
And I do not.
But we do have stuffed quail with lizards inside. And kumquats.
I have no doubt that it's, well, I do have serious doubts, actually, but we definitely don't have that in Maine.
In Japan, it's called a turducken des quail.
I have no doubt that it is.
Yep.
Except all those doubts that, you're just a liar, so whatever.
Well, speaking of doubt and no doubt, man.
Oh, you go to one of their concerts lately?
No.
Or are you just continuing to quote them in your stories?
Man, I'm gonna be honest. If it sounded like my heart wasn't in saying no doubt every single sentence in that last story, it's because it seemed a lot funnier on paper.
I mean, once I caught on, it was pretty funny, but it took a minute for me to realize, to decide whether you were just being repetitive in your writing or if you were doing it deliberately. But after four episodes, I figured it out.
Good.
You were doing it deliberately.
Well, after 4 episodes, spoiler, this story arc is coming to its conclusion.
Ah, damn. I thought it would never end. No, it's, I do like hearing your sci-fi version of your World of Warcraft character.
Oh.
It's a little too bad. He'll have to make a guest appearance in the future or something.
Oh, he's, so this is, like I said before, I want to keep writing, the same story, but, we might, I've opened up to the possibility that we might change perspectives within the same universe.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I thought we talked about this the other day.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying that you were tired of writing about Arister.
No.
And we're gonna write about someone else. I misunderstood. Because my stories have been almost entirely unrelated.
Yeah. And, I mean, that helps, I think, for keeping it fresh, which has been definitely a struggle for me.
Yeah.
But, the part of the purpose of this show for me has been a challenge for me to improve my own writing and give myself some new perspective on writing, because... you know me, I was writing screenplays before, and I just hit a wall and was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I want to try 2 genres I never tried before. Sci-fi and basically sci-fi.
Yeah.
And try short story writing and a completely new format, and, so, yeah, the challenge has been good. I've been enjoying doing the show so far.
Yeah, it's been a good time. On my side, I've just not written creatively since I finished college. I kind of got burnt out on it with classes, and I almost did the same thing with the reading. Once I finished college, I'd been reading for assignments for so many years. I just stopped reading for a little while after I finished school, and the same with the writing, except it took longer for me to get back into it. And this was kind of what pushed me back into it. It's been good. Although the last episode I didn't like very much, but I don't know. I felt like I kind of phoned it in on that one, but this episode's a lot better. I think
exactly. We're only saying that because if you liked last time's episode, you are gonna love this one.
That, or if for some reason you're starting on this episode, just skip episode 4. Mine was shit. Todd's was the same. Whatever. Start fresh.
Yeah.
I've also been drinking quite a bit today.
Oh, me too, man. Coffee all morning.
No, I just pounded a couple beers. I'm like I said, I'm sick and I haven't drank for a few weeks, So a couple beers was pretty good for me.
Hey, this might be a good idea. Maybe you're.
We should definitely do a drunken episode where I don't know how exactly it would work other than us just laughing at parts that weren't actually funny. But
which means that you're asking me to start drinking in the morning.
Yeah. I mean, if it's on one of my days off, I could start drinking in the morning, and you could take the evening.
I guess so. Oh man. All right. Well, that is a thing that's gonna happen. I've already picked my prompt for next time, but I guess.
As per usual, yeah. I'm going to make mine up on the spot.
Okay.
Or make it up while or shortly after you are reading your story.
Oh, well, thank you for paying close attention.
I always pay moderate amounts of attention.
Thank you.
There are other things in this world.
Well then, let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm gonna ask you, same as always. You want to go first this week?
And I will, as always, say let's keep some sort of similarity between the episodes and say you go first and I'll go second.
All right. Well then, I will go first. Thank you very much. I'm gonna start my story. Here we go.
All right.
This one, oh shoot, I didn't title it. So I'm going to read this sentence that I wrote on the left page here where I was taking my notes. I don't know what it means, but it's the new title of my story. My story this time is called You Didn't Kill Rudolph Rittler.
All right.
Yep. I don't know what that means. Who's Rudolph Rittler?
Is he not a character in the story?
He's not a character in this story.
Were you attempting to create a character that was essentially Adolf Hitler, but slightly renamed?
You know what? It's coming back to me why I wrote this. And anyway, just look forward to in the next few episodes the return of Rudolph Rittler. He's not in this story, but he might be showing up.
In his summer camp for Jews. That goes all year round.
This is sci-fi, so they would be space Jews.
Jews in space. Oh man, I haven't watched History of the World in so long. That's such a great movie.
Uh-huh. I'm sorry if my story doesn't live up to that movie.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't expect it to.
That's okay. All right, here we go. Aboard the new, or other, moon, tourism space station, Dark Lord E-Death and Iggy-88 were playing hacky sack with a puppy's head and doing space drugs. Airy stormed into the lobby, chest puffed out, looking all kinds of crazy. Iggy took one look at the buff, sexily intimidating stud and pretended to shit his pants. Lord E-Death, Terry has a bloodthirsty look in his eyes that I am programmed to believe warrants a response of shitting my pants in fear. Goodness me, Iggy. Then I no doubt will as well. After making some farting sounds with his mouth, Iggy said, Sir, perhaps you should go to the restroom and change your pants. E-Death hung his head in shame. No doubt, he said. Has anyone moved that eyeless bird corpse yet? Airy chimed in. No, I tripped over it on my way in. Be careful. No doubt, no doubt. As soon as E-Death was out of the room, Iggy slid up to Airy and did a voice that sounded like me doing an impression of Robin Williams' Genie doing an impression of Jack Nicholson. All right, Sparky, here's the deal. I don't know what you're trying to do, kid, but looks like you're trying to get us all killed. Do you got it? I watched Aladdin.
What, this morning?
Before I wrote this. He can't be allowed to get away with this. He killed my friend, who I thought was already dead. But now that I know it's not really my fault, and I have a target to redirect my rage at, I know I've got to get vengeance. Maybe we can cut a deal. You do realize Edeth is an immortal space god. I don't care if he's an amoral space whatever. I've killed bigger assholes than him. Okay, kid, but if you want to kill this asshole, then follow my lead. Edeth strode back confidently in with toilet paper stuck to his tentacle. Who's ready to find a dark crystal? Lovely, sir. Let's all go together. Nova? Nova, are you still there, dear? There was no answer. Do you have a camera? Nova came into the room, sniffling and dragging a teddy bear by its paw, 'cause she'd just lost a friend, and she was in desperate need of physical comfort. She wiped some cry snot from her nose and said, My phone does. So do my retinas. Iggy blinked and made a camera shutter sound. But you didn't hear me say that. Edeth said, Hear you say what? Nothing, sir. Let's go. Edeth clapped his tentacles together and conjured a golden space elevator, like from Willy Wonka, and nobody asked any questions. Eri had seen enough fantastical shit so far to realize that any explanation for where the elevator came from or what it connected to would be far beyond him, but it was uncomfortable riding down in complete silence. Desperate for conversation, Eri said, Hey, Iggy, is now a good time for you to tell Edeth's origin story to me? Iggy shuffled uncomfortably as Edith shot him a knowing look. Right. Once upon a time, a mad space god and a mad space goddess met at a bar and boned all night. The mad space god never called the goddess again, but she would be reminded of that passionate night forever, since she'd gotten knocked up and had a baby space god. She called him Edeth, the end.
That's great. Great origin story.
Wait, Nova interrupted, even though Iggy had said the end and was obviously finished. That's not right. No doubt, Edith also interrupted. You forgot the main accent. No, wait, Nova triple interrupted. Tell him the story about when you were a space cabbie and you drove off the edge of the universe. What? Edith quadruple interrupted. Iggy, I told you that story in strict confidence. Iggy quintuple interrupted. I'm sorry, Bruce. It's just that when you're not around, it's a much better story to tell than the fake one you made up to tell people so that they didn't find out about how a real space god found you in my cab covered in shit and jizz.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna take that as a laugh. I'm not gonna edit that one out. That was you laughing.
Yeah, it was essentially a laugh. Yes.
What? Eri sextuple interrupted. Your name is Bruce? I thought it was Edith. No one names a baby Edith, dumbass. Of course. Oh, I'm sorry. That was Edith. No one names a baby Edith, dumbass. Of course it's a pseudonym. Edith double sextuple interrupted. I wasn't sure what to call a seventuple, so obviously that's a double sextuple.
It would be septuple.
I'm gonna stick with double sextuple.
Yeah, that works.
No one is supposed to know that story, Iggy. I thought you were my friend. No, dude, I'm a cabbie. I might talk to you and be friendly, but that's just so I don't get bored. Cab drivers have no real friends.
Why the shade at the cabbies?
I mean, it's pretty obvious. they smell weird, and
I mean, I've never met a cabbie that I liked, but
see,
there might be some good ones out there.
Here's a challenge to all our demographics out there. Have you ever met a cabbie that wasn't a piece of shit?
And if you are a cabbie, piece of shit or otherwise, send all hate mail to Todd.
At the same email that we both get.
Yeah.
Just make sure you address it in the header for Todd. Reply shade. Or space shade. Sci-fi it up for me. Okay. Edeth's gaseous nebula face glowed bright red. That's really mean, Iggy. I trusted you. I never doubted you. I'll kill you.
Jesus.
Edeth waved all his tentacles above his head and started chanting a magic space spell. Or a space magic spell. There's a difference.
Oh, is there?
Yep.
Care to go into it?
Yep, it goes like this. Maga, maga, maga. Turn into worms so I can step on you. Nova and Eri closed their eyes and winced like someone was fake punching at their face. But just like a fake punch, nothing happened. I mean, if you know it's a fake punch, then I guess you wouldn't wince at it, right? But
yeah, I suppose.
So,
well, there's some reflex there.
Yeah. I know I always flinch. I gotta Alright, side story. I got a little kid in one of my classes who the other week he picked up this what was he holding in his hand? I think he was just holding an eraser. But anyway, he kept fake throwing it at me. The kid's like 5 years old, so I know that he's fake throwing it at me, but I also know that he's 5 years old and he might let go because 5-year-olds are idiots. So yeah, I winced.
Every single time?
Well, eventually I knew I had to nut up and take on this 5-year-old.
So you threw a real eraser at him?
No, I said, hey man, be chill. And he was all like, I don't speak English. So then I was like, oh, okay, stop. And he stopped. All right.
You should have still thrown something at him.
Nah, he's a good kid. He's just gonna grow up to be a jerk.
Yeah.
Again. All right. Here we go. Eri opened one eye shyly and said, "Are we gonna turn into worms?" Iggy clarified, "No, you've shaken his confidence. Edeth is embarrassed now and full of self-doubt. His powers only work as long as he believes in himself completely."
As long as he has no doubt.
As long as he believes in himself completely. All right. Nova sensed her chance. "Bruce! Yeah, I called you Bruce. You're a friendless dork, and if my dad wasn't business partners with you, I'd never be seen in the same room as you." Ouch. Really, Nova? Eri chimed in. "Yeah, you're a jerk, and a butt, and I bet you'd never even seen a boob." "I've seen lots of boobs," Edeth defended himself weakly. Nova laughed. "Struck a chord, huh? How many boobs you seen?" Edith whispered, "Lots." Iggy, Nova, and Eri all three said together, "Yeah, right," and rolled their eyes. The space elevator finally gently landed on the planet Meteoria's seventh surface. As the doors opened, Edith ran out sobbing and flailing his tentacles like a big dumb octopus baby.
What a bitch.
What a bitch. He sank to his tentacle knees and looked up. They had landed just outside the city gates. A relatively large crowd, mostly of unemployed people with nothing better to do, had gathered around the golden elevator. They whispered to each other, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. "Is Beangut building a new golden tower?" one poor plebe proposed. "Is it Alf magic?" suggested another wretchedly poor rubbernecker. "Maybe it's just a really ugly tree. Gold is super tacky." Edith screeched, his voice cracking. "No, you dumbasses! It's an elevator! And it's not tacky! And why are none of you turned into zombies?" Nova stepped up and proudly declared, "My best friend in the whole wide space sacrificed her life to redirect your zombies into the nearby sun." Edith was stunned. "You guys lied to me?" Iggy was starting to feel bad for him, but there was no going back now. "People lie to you all the time, Bruce. You're really gullible, and they don't want to be killed with space magic." Suddenly, black vapor began to fume out from Edith's hood. When the vapor cleared, a man's face, Bruce's true face, was revealed. His tentacles vanished as Bruce fully returned to his lame, regular old human self. Also, he realized he wasn't wearing anything under his dark robes, and he blushed. Nova walked over to Ari and put a hand on his shoulder. "Ari, go get your sword." "I'll run." "No, take your time. I got a lot to say to this guy." As commanded, Ari didn't run, but he walked briskly back to his room in the dungeon to pick up his sword where he had left it. When he got back to his room, he found the Ratman guard from before was holding Ari's sword and flexing his puny arms, posing in front of Ari's vanity mirror. The Ratman put down the sword, slowly rolled down his sleeves, and untucked his dick. "Could you, not tell anyone about this?" Ari had had his full of bullying for the day, so he agreed with a nod, and silently picked up his sword. When Ari returned to the elevator, Nova was still really letting the former Dark Lord Edith have it. "You've got a stupid catchphrase, and you're bald. You still pretty much look like an octopus with that enormous bald head of yours, you ugly, sad, fucking ugly piece of unlovable shit." The former Lord Edith, who will be referred to hereon as Bruce, was already in tears, but when Nova called him unlovable, he briefly stopped crying and wiped his eyes with his oversized robe. "You really mean that? I'm unlovable?" "Yeah, I do. Not only because of how ugly you are, not only because you're a friend-murdering inhuman monster, but also because I know your dark secret." The crowd was stunned. They mostly had no idea what was going on, but they loved hearing dark secrets. "I know. You're an addict. You've been injecting Stimpacks directly into your eyes like John's from Pitch Black. And no one can love an addict because you don't love yourself enough to get help." This revelation changed the mood of the crowd. A man wearing a tunic that read, "I heart opioids," suddenly bemoaned how hot it was and took off his tunic, just in case anyone nearby could read. Ari, too, was affected. He was pretty eager to decapitate Bruce, the former Dark Lord, but having himself endured years of abuse from people making fun of his pale skin, he just couldn't bring himself to hate Bruce anymore. "Hey, Nova, don't you think he's had enough? Maybe we could just let him off with a warning?" Nova scowled. "If you're gonna be such a bitch about it, I'll do it myself. Give me the sword." Eri did as he was told and handed his sword to Nova. She struggled to lift the massive executioner's sword, but, with a grunt of determination, managed to heave the blade onto her shoulder. "This is the end, Bruce." Just as Nova went to swing the blade down, Iggy stepped between her and Bruce. "Put the blade down, Nova. He's beaten." "I can't forgive him." "Oh, okay, my bad. Go ahead." Iggy stepped aside and said, "Here you go." After a few uneasy whacks of the blade, Bruce was unconscious but still alive. "Man, this is tougher than it looks," Nova sighed. After another 20 minutes of hacking at and around Bruce's neck, the former Dark Lord was finally dead, though his head had still not been entirely severed. Nova laid the blade edge down on what was left of the strands and sinew of Bruce's neck and stomped down with her boot until finally the head and neck had been entirely separated. Nova picked up Bruce's head by his nose like a bowling ball and then punted it into the woods. After giving her a moment to breathe, Eri approached Nova and took his sword back. "That was honestly pretty good for a first try. Reminded me of when I was young, but I'd started off with a much smaller sword." Iggy was now wearing a cowboy hat, so I don't know why I'm laughing at that. Iggy was now wearing a cowboy hat, so he tipped the brim down over his eyes for dramatic effect. "Looks like that's the end of old Dark Lord Edith." He bent down and lifted the headless body into his arms. "I reckon y'all won't be wanting to keep this stinking corpse here. I'll take him back up to the station and give him a traditional burial at space."
Is Iggy gonna fuck Edith's corpse?
There might be a bit of that. He carried the carcass back to the space elevator and slumped the body into one corner. With another tip of the hat, he waved goodbye and pressed the up button on the elevator. Nothing happened. "Oh, shit." He pressed the button again. "Whoops. I guess this thing was powered by Edith's space magic. With him dead, it won't go." Nova gasped. "But everyone on the station had their eyes exploded. How will we get back?" Eri laughed. "Just use your phone to call for a teleport." He was pretty proud of himself. He had pretty much gotten the hang of how technology worked. "I don't get any reception past the station on this Wi-Fi-less rock, genius." Eri hung his head in shame, realizing that he still really had no idea how technology worked. "You can come stay at the castle with me. I'll show you how to chop off heads better." That's when Nova remembered. "Oh yeah, I'm in a clone body." "You want me to cut your head off?" Nova sighed and said, "I really shouldn't take you with me." Nova snapped her fingers and said, "Function. Exit." The clone body collapsed as Nova's connection ceased. Eri looked at the lifeless clone body and wondered to himself if he could keep it. Fortunately, before he said or did anything embarrassing, he too was teleported back up to the station. Iggy looked up at the new moon and then back at the crowd of shocked onlookers and said, "You guys want to hear the origin story of this headless guy in the elevator?" The crowd mumbled amongst themselves and decided that, yeah, most of them would like some context for everything they'd just seen, including that gross murder. But before Iggy could switch accents, he too was teleported away. The crowd sighed, "Aww." One racist elderly man stepped up and suggested, "It was probably just them damn slant-eared, cat-eating Alfs up to their old tricks again." Everyone agreed because they were all racist too and went about their day. The end.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Damn slant-eared cat-eating Alps. I was pretty proud of that.
Yeah. Racism is always funny.
It's been a major theme in my story.
It's true. It's important.
It's important to realize that it's funny.
Yeah. And that you aren't actually racist.
Yeah, exactly. Because real racists don't think racism is funny. They think it's dead serious.
That's true.
That is very true. All right. I'm scaring away our racist demographics, but
that's all right. I work with a guy whose father is super racist.
Oh yeah?
He says the worst shit. It's hilarious.
Oh my god. Is he racist against Alfs?
No, blacks.
Okay. All right.
Maybe not leave this part in.
I'm not sure.
I can't decide either.
If you'd said African Americans, it might have lost its impact, but
I feel like that wouldn't be living up to his thorough racism.
I know. All right. Me too. I'm leaning towards this will be cut.
Yeah.
But
probably.
But it is funny. All right. So that was my story.
Yeah, the death of Edaf.
Yep. He's gone. He's dead. His head got punted into the woods.
Or into space.
Well, he was gonna get a traditional burial at space, but the elevator didn't work. I think they left his body in the elevator. Just Iggy got teleported up.
Iggy had his head, right?
Yeah, Iggy still had his head.
Or okay.
No, they didn't kill him.
Because he was gonna fuck it later.
Of course. I mean, you don't just carry a corpse
Iggy.
around. It's Iggy.
Yeah.
And he's also not really sure on what it means to be human. Does that mean that you sometimes fuck a corpse? I don't know. I'm not
He's
judging.
Iggy Pop. He doesn't wear a shirt.
Nope. He also sometimes has a hat.
Sometimes.
So that he can tip it for dramatic effect.
During the winter.
All right.
Keep his head warm.
Anyway, that was my story. I've also got another story here that Tomo wrote.
A little guest appearance.
A little guest appearance
That's good.
by Tomodomo. She's written a story that may end up being cut.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Yeah, no.
It depends.
You know what?
Depends on whether we can get her to read it or not, because that might be extra funny.
Okay, well, anyway. So this is her story.
Either way, I'm sure it's brilliantly
This is
written.
her story. So this is a story about future. The Earth has destroyed, and there is nothing left in the world. Except these two guys. They survived from death meteor attack somehow. Well, I don't know if I should call them two guys. One is an absolute human. Another guy is actually a creature. It's a teddy bear. Somehow this wired meteors brought unimaginable power to a teddy bear, a life. Anyways, there they are. Todd is thinking... Oh, the guy's name is Todd. Todd is thinking hard to survive in this cursed, dark world. The bear, on the other hand, is thinking so hard to find out how to get Todd's sperms in his jar he could find.
Jesus, Tomo.
Sometimes Bear gets sperms when he jacks off while Todd's sleeping, but since he's not eating good food, it's so little he could get. Give Bear an advice how to get good amounts of sperms from Todd. Comment on the wall. See you next time.
Oh my god.
So she's asking for input from the audience. Please leave your ideas on our basically sci-fi Facebook wall.
Holy shit. About how the bear can best get Todd's sperm.
Right.
Two guys, Todd and a teddy bear, who came to life.
Somehow by the I think she meant weird. It says wired meteors. Anyway.
That might be the best story we've had so far. Damn.
I know. Have the guest one-up us. All right. Well, anyway, have you got something that's at least half as good as that?
I don't know about half as good, but at least a quarter. All right, so my story this week is called Grand Chancellor-for-Life and Premier Healer of Moderately Annoying Illnesses and His Rise to Power.
Oh my, okay. Okay. That sounds like a really important job.
It sounds like a goddamn mouthful, because that's kind of what I was going for.
All right.
With the title.
All right.
I don't know why. Cannot explain why.
All right.
So, last time we started off, or ended with Grabble and Seamus moving on to a new planet to take over.
Yeah.
And this is that planet.
Right. What was his drink of choice?
Oh, god damn it. You had to ask me that. I don't remember.
Wasn't it I don't know, like a gin and
tonic?
Yeah.
I think it was gin and tonic.
Gin and tonic.
Yes.
All right.
He makes, well, I won't give that away.
Okay.
Okay. So, it begins.
Yeah.
What's on the schedule for today? Grabble asked his advisor, Mutton. Nothing much, really. Just a filibuster of the Congress in order to pass your proposed dictatorship rule. Ruling a planet wasn't quite as simple as Grabble had planned on. He thought it would be all blindly obedient followers, amazing riches, loads of chicks. Turned out it was mostly meetings, trying to determine the appropriate number of times to use the term welfare state in any given speech. Apparently the answer was 42, but it was important that these meetings were held regularly. To be sure, nothing changed.
That's good.
It hadn't. Nothing ever seemed to change. Truthfully, it was all to maintain the job security of several hundred otherwise worthless employees.
Oh man, this is biting satire.
Yes, something like that. Maybe nibbling, but something like that. Nothing changed on Constantius Prime, the lone planet orbiting a particularly lackluster star towards the eastern rim of the Andromeda Galaxy.
Oh, this is in the real space.
The people here didn't like change. Unfortunately for Grabble, what the people want isn't particularly important to politicians. He'd managed to bribe almost half of the members of Congress. Alas, not quite enough for the sweeping victory he needed to become dictator for life. Grabble started to believe this might take some time. It never crossed his mind that anyone who didn't take the bribes would vote for him, so to keep himself alert for the proceedings, he decided to load up on stimulants. He acquired some military-grade Stimpacks from a marauding band of combat guerrillas, a species that was abducted from Earth. They were advanced genetically in order to win a war against an especially psychotic life form It evolved from a sentient banana species somewhere in one of those particularly odd galaxies that sensible travelers like to avoid. But I digress. Loaded up on stimulants and prepared to talk a blue streak in order to prevent a losing vote, Grabble stepped on stage, only to find that he had been locked in a closet for 5 hours, straightening his shoelaces, and had missed the vote entirely.
Oh, no!
Sir, Mutton started, but he was unsure whether the stimulants had worn off, and if he should just wait to inform his boss that he had missed the vote. Mutton elected to soldier on anyways. Sir, the vote has been taken already. Grabble vibrated slightly. Sir? Can't you see, man? Medium-long vibration to the left should definitely mean, oh well, I just got my shoes right. And what the fuck was the outcome? Grabble was not a particular fan of Mutton. He was always telling him what needed to be done, and Grabble was of the opinion that as a dictator, that was his job, not his assistant's. But never mind, I'm sure it failed. Only half of the members took my bribes. Well, actually, the measure passed 99-1. You're now the sole ruler of the whole planet.
Oh, man.
This, understandably, shocked Grabble. What he failed to take into account was that the Congress folk who turned down the bribes could use it as proof that they were clean politicians come the next election cycle. They chose to vote yes as a sign of their gratitude. The lone...
Low information voters. Yeah. That's what these guys are.
Exactly. I'm glad you caught on to that. The lone no vote came from the person who held the clearly mistaken opinion that maybe turning over complete control was not the best idea. He was later shot. But just in the leg. And for reasons...
Oh, my goodness.
And for reasons unrelated to the vote. He was fine. In fact, most of the people in Congress took pity on him, as holding such ridiculous opinions meant he wasn't likely to last very long in politics.
I'm surprised he could make it through a day.
It was a clerical error that he got elected in the first place, I think.
Obviously.
Yeah. That or massive voter fraud perpetrated by Mexicans who don't live here.
Space Mexicans. Aliens.
Now overloaded on stims, Grabble sought out the one person he knew would be able to help him through this. Would be able to help him through this difficult time. Seamus. Quite literally the worst choice he could have made. Seamus, as usual, was getting hammered on his newest batch of bathtub gin. He had taken to distilling his own supply when he came close to having to take a job just to pay for the booze he was consuming.
Ugh.
It's a horrific concept to someone like Seamus, whose idea of a hard day's work involved having to leave the house to purchase more booze because the fetching boy was on holiday. Seamus! What do you want? You can't have any of my gin. This is my finest vintage yet. No, I just took a bunch of stims. I need your help. How do I get through this? First of all, do you have any more? No. I thought I needed to spend all day talking, so I took all I could get my hands on. Well, that's no good. We'll have to go get more. I don't need more. I need help getting through it. In that case, you should go out and greet your adoring public for the first time. And at that, they set out to meet the public. Of course, Seamus's first stop was at a pub. He made his way straight to the bar and ordered a bottle of whiskey on the government's tab, of course, and made his way to chat up the lone table of women. Grabble, on the other hand, found the group of the most drunk patrons and proceeded to monologue at them about the importance of keeping floors particularly clean so you could slide across them in socks. Yes.
Very important.
It's a very important concept, especially for government officials. Seamus, onto his third bottle, had managed to drive away all but one of the women by generally being himself. The one remaining was an interesting character, locally known as Murdering Mary, for her proclivity to murder people for looking at her wrong. I will take...
What an interesting character.
Of course, interesting character used in the colloquial term. As far as in Maine, saying interesting character is a common way of describing someone. Not referencing the fact that she is a character in a story.
Okay, yeah, I got that.
Didn't sound like you did.
No, I did. Just, I was implying that, the fact that she's a serial killer, I would choose a different word than interesting to describe her at the local bar scene.
I wouldn't.
All right.
Anyways, I would take this moment to say that the name Mary was chosen for alliterative purposes, and has nothing to do with my mother, also named Mary. So far as I know, she has no penchant for murder. She's a school teacher who seems like a lovely person in my experiences.
Your mother seems like a lovely person to you.
I just thought I'd make that clear. But then again...
Well, that's how she's managed to keep up her murder spree for so long. Nobody suspects her.
She's all Jeffrey Dahmer about it.
Yeah.
Except school teacher instead of clown.
Quiche one time.
That's awful. I feel bad. Anyways... I don't feel that bad. Otherwise, I'd have used a different name that started with M.
Yeah, she could be murdering Mike. They might not have been able to come up with a woman's name. They just called her Mike anyway.
Anyhow. That's actually written into my script. Anyhow, Murdering Mary was pleased to have the attention of someone drunk enough to serve as a patsy for her next murder. Her plan was to kill the new dictator, in fear that he might try to cut back on the random murder quotas for the capital city. The idea was simple. Lure Grabble into an alley, murder, knock out Seamus, cover him in the blood and run away, or just run back into the bar. You see that man over there? She asked Seamus. Yeah, that's Grabble. Kinda dumb, but he did have a good idea coming to this planet. Huge variety of alcoholic products here. Never seen as many. Wait, you know him? That's great. You see, in the capital here, the police don't investigate murders until the numbers go over preset quota. Now, I need this policy to remain. I should say at this point, she needs a patsy because they're past the month's quota, and she doesn't want to wait out the month in case he makes it a priority. Well, I can talk to him about it, but I don't care, so I'm not likely to be very persuasive. Well, I'll be out in the alley. Bring him out there and I can convince him myself. And so he shuffled off to grab his friend and lead him into the dark alley to chat with this lovely lady who seemed interested in the internal government workings.
I mean, is she attractive?
I will leave that up to your imagination, because I did not decide.
I'm gonna imagine yes. Oh man, I'm imagining it.
Fair enough. So I understand you're a fan of the murder quota. Grabble started, genuinely interested in her views on the topic. Well, I was thinking about taking some stress off of the police force and raising the quota a bit. As a murderer yourself, how do you feel about a 10% monthly increase? Slightly taken aback by this stance, and somewhat disappointed not to not get to murder someone, she suggested a 20% increase. Well, 20 would be great, but I'm a little worried that the quota wouldn't be reached in some months, and that would just make it harder the rest of the year. I see your point, and I really like killing things.
Wait, this is 20% of
it's
what?
It's a 20%
of the population of the 20%
planet? Increase on the current quota.
Oh, the quota, which we don't know what it is, but okay.
No, because it's
my bad.
Unimportant. Essentially.
Right. Sorry.
Suddenly understanding that he was talking to someone prepared to kill him, Grabble panicked. Well, what if I created a position for you? Killing my political enemies and anyone else that suits your fancy. Other than me, of course. Seamus was bored and thirsty, so he went back to get more booze while Mary pondered the suggestion. Well, I think that's a lovely idea. When can I start? Anytime you'd like. I have a particularly annoying assistant who couldn't get me to leave a closet earlier. Clearly he needs to be punished. Seems like a good a start as any. And so, Mary in tow, Grabble collected the mess that called itself Seamus from where he was slumped over on the bar with a tipped-over bottle somehow still pouring into his mouth. They headed back to the government buildings to make Mary's license to kill official. The next day, Grabble woke up to Seamus moaning loudly from a bathroom down the hall. He headed over. You know you almost got me killed by that lady last night, right? Nah, I don't recall a thing. The end.
Convenient.
Well, I mean, honestly, that was my... As soon as I got the prompt blackout, that was my intent, was just have Seamus blackout drunk. But I didn't know exactly how to do it, and that struck me as the funniest, just having him say, no, I don't recall a thing at the very end.
That was a great story.
Right,
again. Thank you, Jared. Yeah. I'm sorry that I had a bit of a mix-up remembering who was who.
Yeah.
And I think I probably should have done that with my story, too.
I should have done a little bit more of a recap, too. I put a little bit of one in, but not very much. And I don't think I used character names. There are only 2 characters that get repeated, so... It was...
Well, I remembered they had this, like, Rick and Morty thing going on. But...
Yeah.
But, I didn't... I'm sorry, I didn't remember their
Yeah,
names.
And I switched focus in this episode, too, so that was a little bit confusing.
That's okay. I mean, I got it by the end, so...
By the time I told you exactly what was happening.
Yes. Exactly then. That's when it all clicked for me.
Yeah. No, I liked how this episode came out. The last episode, I did something silly, and I tried to do one without any dialogue at all, just to see how that would work. And
no, I liked it.
It definitely works a lot better with dialogue.
I think I remember thinking to myself last week, like going, oh man, Jared won the basically sci-fi this week.
Yeah, it switched back and forth a lot in that story. Like, it just kind of, I felt it like it jumped around too much, but yeah, it wasn't a terrible episode, but I think this one's better.
I like yours. I do like the interplay between your two characters.
They don't really give a shit about each other, but they like being together, I guess. Or at least that's how I feel they exist.
They have a symbiotic relationship.
Yes, one's very good at mixing drinks, and the other likes drinking drinks. Or that was the moral of the last story, at least.
The moral of this story on the public safety announcement podcast was, guys, don't mix booze and Stimpacks.
It's a bad idea. Generally,
it's a bad idea.
Although, I don't know. I think I'm definitely gonna return to the character murdering Mary and have her kill some people.
Yeah. I'm starting to worry about that one dissenting congressman.
No, he's fine. He's not going to get reelected.
Okay.
It was a clerical error that he got elected in the first place.
What was his name? Bernie Spacers?
Yeah, essentially. That's exactly who I was thinking of, actually, when I wrote that. The one person who thought that maybe this wasn't a great idea. I was definitely thinking either Bernie Sanders or Angus King.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
Did you... So I referenced Pitch Black in mine.
I caught that reference. I liked it. I like that. I love that movie.
Oh, okay.
It's so goofy.
Yeah.
And wasn't it? What's that actor's name? The main character. The guy that played Riddick. Yeah, Vin Diesel. Okay. I always get him confused with The Rock. I don't know why, but I always get those two confused. Even though,
I guess big jacked bald guys kind of all look the same.
I guess that's the reason why. But I always get those two confused, and they're nothing alike, really. Other than
they are both incredible actors.
Vin Diesel is
in big budget sci-fi epics like Pitch Black and Doom.
Wait, which one was in Doom? I never.
The wrestler.
I never saw that movie.
Oh, it was incredible. It was the movie that taught me that not all movies have to be good for you to enjoy it.
Awesome.
Yep.
I'm trying to think now. I'm trying to think of what movie taught me that. It was probably one of the Ernest movies that taught me that. Ernest Scared Stupid or something like that.
I mean, when you saw, how old were you when you saw that?
Old enough to be scared by it.
Well, yeah.
It's such a. I've watched it a couple of years ago. It's such a fucking cheesy movie. But when I was a little kid, that shit was scary.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's go over our prompts for next time. I've already got my prompt. What's your prompt?
Not what you might think. No, it's terraforming.
Ooh.
You know what that is, right?
I mean, it's not a real thing, but I get it.
I'm just making sure you're up
Terraforming.
to date on the sci-fi terms. It's changing the atmosphere of a planet into a habitable one, essentially. It's a common theme among science fiction stories.
All right. Well, that will probably work well for your next story.
Probably won't, considering what I've written.
But me, just to. Oh yeah, I have also started planning my next story.
Yeah, no, I've just drawn a basic outline. I'll fit it in.
The prompt I've got for next time, and this might fuck with us. My prompt is vacuums. Yeah, vacuums.
Vacuum cleaners it is.
Again. Well, the word I wrote down was vacuum. Vacuums.
You can't tell me not to.
That's what you get. Nope. So that's that. I think I was just gonna say black hole, but then I was like, nah, vacuum is funnier or like more.
Well, they're
it's got a wider
things.
scope.
And vacuum has much broader scope, given that all of space is a vacuum, as opposed to black holes being a specific phenomenon that happens infrequently in space.
Well, either way, someone's going to make a joke about
sucking a black hole through a vacuum. Yeah, someone's going to make a joke about that, too. Probably me.
I'll leave it to you, because now you've already spoiled the joke for next time.
I got to write that down. Hang on. No.
Again, this is the creative process.
Yes.
Which no. I think that is important to say.
Yeah.
Like me, sometimes I just turn my brain on autopilot, and you sit around. That was
half of this.
You're not really thinking about anything.
I wrote today.
And you're not thinking about anything, and then all of a sudden your brain says something funny to you. And you go, oh man, good one, brain. I gotta remember that. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, actually, I am gonna write that down. Hang on. Suck a black hole through a vacuum.
Through a vac. I like how there's an echo now. You know that he's writing it down.
Yep. Anyways.
Right, welcome back. You got your notes settled? All right. Well then, yeah. I think that about does it for this week's edition of Basically Sci-Fi. Thank you guys for joining us. As always, Be sure to as always. I don't know if I've told you before, but like Tomo told you, leave a note on our Facebook wall. Let us know what you think. Or YouTube, or in fact, let us know in all platforms. Yup.
Thought you were going to talk about ejaculating teddy bears.
Guys, if you got time, do that too. But yeah. I know you're busy.
Beat off a teddy bear.
Beat off a teddy bear. But as long as it's set in space or the future, then there you go.
Don't worry. According to Tomo, it's not going to come as much as a human. So
no. All right. Thank you guys for joining us.
Adios.
See you next time.
Indeed.
No doubt.